Hello and welcome to From the Edge. My name is Nicole Anderson and I am your host today. From the Edge is a podcast series filmed in Dubai, and our aim is to bring all kinds of people from the edge of the innovation debate together. We feature futurists, authors, builders, and founders. Today, I'm really happy to be able to introduce you to Madelein Leegwater. Madelein is founder and CEO of Samture. It is a boutique AI architecture and knowledge graph consultancy based here in Dubai. And Madelein brings together an amazing array of capabilities and skills. Her experience spans multiple industries, government, financial services, logistics, in senior roles in the enterprise, but she's also been an incredibly successful entrepreneur. Madelein, like myself, is passionate about technology for good, and AI is no exception. Her objective with Samture is to solve one of the most painstaking problems we all face, and that is adopting AI safely and with scale. Welcome, Madelein.
Thank you, Nicole.
So
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So good to have you. So good to have you. So I'm always intrigued with people who have crossed the chasm, so to speak. And I think you've actually done that in multiple ways, right?
Yes,
You've had what I kind of like to say, this like magic web in your life where you've felt very comfortable transitioning from industry to capability, learning, new disciplines and skills from the ground up. Yeah. And from our discussion earlier, you have that pioneering spirit. I can see you in the number of places you visited just in the GCC countries. But bring to life your career, your journey. What has got you to this point? And really, I'd love you to kind of land on what gets you up in the morning.
Well, it's a really great question. I think it's a passion. It's a passion, and that's what's driving me. Because I'd like to make the impossible possible. So if we look, for example, at AI, I think I was one of the early adopters at the time. And I want to combine all the kind of industries that struggle with AI. They definitely want to work with AI, but they don't know how to do it and how to succeed on that. So I think that's the driver for me, definitely. Yeah.
And so tell us about your earlier career and some of the kind of key milestones that have led you to really what you're doing today, which is a really tough area, right?
It is.
And I know that it is a capability that either is totally misunderstood. People understand perhaps data architecture of old, but not fully in the AI area. No. So how did you get to this discipline? And I think the audience would really benefit from understanding what is data AI architecture, not just data, and what is knowledge graphing? What is that?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that. We'll make it a simple translation of it. Because I think a lot of people don't understand what a knowledge graph is, for example. So if we look at what brings me here, I started my early career as an entrepreneur and a banker. So that was my start. And with this in my career, I always have had the curiosity to learn and to explore new things, new industries. So that's also the thing that I bring on the table here. And I really like to bring this also in the cases itself. So if we look at the knowledge graph methodology, because that's what it is, it's a foundation underneath AI to create trustworthy AI. So if you bring, and you can bring several things in a knowledge graph, because it's not only bringing in databases, but you can also bring source codes from applications. You can bring all kind of stuff, even a voice recording for example, healthcare. We did for a very big hospital. We created also there the PACS images from the MRI. We also put this in a knowledge graph. So you can basically put every kind of format in the knowledge graph, and that's the foundation on which you are building your AI on. So you can always see with a traceable part where the source is, and that's really exceptional for AI. So I think that's in a nutshell what the knowledge graph from AI is and where it starts.
Right.
And you're right, it's very technical, but I think it's really necessary, specifically here in this region.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that. So good. So I think, making the distinction between, data architecture and very kind of structured data sets versus now every model is essentially a convergence point for all kinds of data. And sometimes people don't really think that data, they don't necessarily think that an image or an MRI, data comes in so many different forms, right?
Yeah.
And I would imagine that businesses, when they start beginning to think about their foundations for AI, and we've discussed this on the podcast before, that foundational debate varies from business to business. I would imagine you've got to meet a business where they're at, right? So talk to us about a typical scenario. You're called in. At what point in a project are you brought in to kind of think, okay, we're doing AI, or we're thinking of doing AI. Where do you begin the discussion? Where do you begin the work? What do you need from that, from that customer or that, environment to be successful? What are the inputs you're needing?
Well, to be honest, most of the time they come to me when they already start inventing an AI, already starting with a couple of projects already and fail.
Yes.
That's the most of the time. I'm really sorry to say so, but that's most of the time
not unusual.
when people come in. Not always, because there are also very big companies with really complex environments. They want to combine this. For example, one of the big European banking was asking me to create a gateway to their payment systems, and also combine it with their workflows. And I've looked at it and said to them, well, I really like the question, but I'm not going to do that. And they were really, they have been shocked. They say, why are you not going to do that? I said, because I don't believe in this kind of way of creating a new environment. We are building on the wrong foundation here. So it's a bit old school. And that was the reason, because they didn't know what a knowledge graph could bring for them in that specific case. And I think the methodology we can use this on several kind of industries. We use them for aviation, for example, to create journeys for customers, but also to create luggage workflows. Also, when delays or transfer come in, we use this in hospitals to create real patient journeys. We create this on banking because we could combine the whole application landscape together in one knowledge graph. So it's not always set up front what is necessary for the customer, and we always work with the customer, so it will never be a separated operational with a magic box after 3 months, and we said, look at what we did here. It's always with the customer, creating the difference.
So that is, I think, a key thing, because when we sat down and we started looking at, our journeys, what we're seeing in the market, like you, the agility you need, whether you're on the side of a provider or an advisor or the side of the customer, it's a new kind of agility you need with AI. A new kind of threshold of tolerance for adapting to change that you're learning from on the go. So the design and build classic phases are now very much iterative. So, classic lean methodology, really is coming into its own. But that comes off the tongue very easily. But it is very difficult for super tanker type organizations to get lean on this. But if they don't, this design, this kind of very staccato approach that may have worked in the past with things that are structured completely fails. So I'd imagine that's where you say they've actually had a go and then it hasn't worked, right? So what I love about what you're saying is you're kind of knee deep in with the customer. Everyone's learning as they're going, except your counsel, is being able to open them up safely to other sources of data that they may or may not have thought about utilizing, other points of data that may be hugely valuable in being able to build ultimately that AI experience for themselves internally or for their customer. But it has to be done together. It cannot be you come in, do your work, and you leave.
No. For me, if we look at the AI function itself, it's only a tooling. So I would say garbage in, garbage out. You know what I mean on that. So we have to prepare the foundation really securely. And I think that's in the whole chain, because that's the reason why we talk about architecture and we fix all these kind of things together. And what I mean by that is that we start with the security, we start with the sovereignty, we create the governance there. So everything is in place. It's a chain. So it's not a feature you can add on the ending. No, it's the decision, the architectural decision you make in starting. And that's the reason why most of I have to laugh about it, because a lot of questioning from customers is we want to do something with AI. Can you help me with this? And I don't take one piece of the pie and just facing it. It's more a holistic view of the organization, the workflows, the processes, the application landscape, everything underneath, also the security and the cloud infrastructure to be in place.
I mean, that's a theme that keeps on coming up, is in the field, the driver to adopt AI is almost like a kind of an early metric or an objective that you don't know what you don't know. So, whatever it is, our annual report, talks about, our move to agentic, or C-level decision board makers are saying, the world is going AI, you better get on the bandwagon, get going.
But where do you start then?
Where do you start? So this foundational piece, I think, is vital. And like you, I think you can get into a very bad place if you're led purely by the technology, because that is a runaway train, as we've seen. We'll come back to that. But what I wanted to move on to then is your definition. You've talked outside of today to me frequently about this notion of trusted AI, which again sounds wonderful, but when you ask people, you'll get like you'll get a very hazy interpretation of what trusted means. So what do you work towards at that foundational layer through the work you do day in day in order to enable AI to be trusted?
Well, if we look at the level I operate right now, it's necessary to have this trusted AI. And for me, the trusted AI, because there are a lot of definitions about the trusted AI itself, but I work a lot with customers. They don't not fully understand their own data. And they don't know about the quality of it for specific. So I said, and I want to turn the table on that part. If you have AI, which is not traceable, which if you don't know which one is whose accesses the data, or you haven't governed it, I think you don't have trusted AI. Because it's necessary to create traceability, to create auditability. Because whether you're a board member or your regulator asks for this information, you need to give it.
Yeah.
So if you don't have all that kind of components in your AI, traceability, governance, but also the auditability, then it's not trusted AI. You have a perfect AI tooling with a great marketing, but that's not trusted AI. So I think that's the difference for us. And if you look at the projects we do, it's traceable from head to toe.
Right.
So I can see even, not myself, but we can see what's the access about, what's happened with the data, where's the changes. We can find also the bugs in it, but also when there is strange behavior.
Yes.
So if someone accesses it from Dubai and 2 hours later access it from London, we know that there's something wrong and the system will know. And that's what I mean with traceable. And it's in the whole chain. It's tokenized in the whole chain. So it is not only on the databases, it's on the access, it's on the URLs we use.
Right.
It's everywhere in the chain.
Good. So I'm glad you've described that, because I was beginning like the kind of mental gymnastics in such a connected world, especially because your market is, like mine, is an enterprise market. The counterparty exposure is everywhere.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The flow of data and, data doesn't come in neat packaged boxes, which is a dividing line between what's mine and what's yours, right?
No.
So when people talk about, counterparty exposure in the AI world, it's very real and it's unsurprising, and it'll come in all different directions. Yeah. But there is an exposure point. There's a real exposure point. Risk flows with data. Yeah. So it's good that you've described how that traceability works, because I think that goes right to the nub. So whether that data is yours, okay, just to kind of make it really simple, or whether it's flowing in through a system because you're relying on, a supplier or a vendor, that traceability kicks in. Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Yeah. We placed it on every part of it. Yeah.
Every part. So we, I think we'll come back to the whole area of ethics and what that means in AI, because it's fundamentally a key component of the regulation as well, right? For this region, again, bold, ambitious plans, and we're still evolving with that. But for let's take another kind of look at the technology, and you call it the tooling, which I kind of laugh at because, I sit on the technology side. But I come with a very agnostic lens to technology, simply because in the AI world, I maintain, like many do, that IP is almost impossible to retain. So being attached to any particular model or tooling or agentic stack or DevOps layer, or even your infrastructure layers is very short-term thinking. Okay, it's very, very short-term, and I mean, yeah. That aside, so I'm totally in the camp of thinking about AI in an agnostic way because of its momentum and the advancements that are being made, right? But I'd like your view in terms of, when you're looking at the architecture and you're looking at either gaps or attachments to certain technologies, or, dare I say, a heavy-handed play from an outside party trying to sell something into a customer. Okay, where are we going with the technology play in AI? As you say, this kind of tool set, where do you come in and right size the situation?
Well, I think that if we look at the models from right now, and I think that the parties bring in the great models right now. I think in a decade they won't last, because I think that the only one last will bring a model with also an ecosystem around it. And that's the only thing the future can have right now, because you see, if you only watch the AI toolings right now, it's evolving very, very fast with very big investments from up to Google or whatever. So it will change very fast. So you cannot follow that. So bring this all together, collect this, and make this a mutual outcome. And I think that will help as well. We never work with only one AI tooling, never. Because it will, in the combination, it's really, really strong.
So you use, let's talk, inputs, right? So you would use multiple models, for example, as ways to provide essentially a sort of a compare and contrast mechanism in terms of quality
and a good outcome.
Okay.
It's also, it's like giving it a bad prompt, you get a bad outcome. And you want to have the best outcome, because the customers we work with, they cannot afford to work with the guessing thing. So we need to be sure that the outcome is reliable.
Right. So you would advocate, therefore, for going from pilot to production and a live system to maintain that ethos of using a variation of tools as a self-checking mechanism, right? Interesting.
Bringing also in with the foundation from the customer itself. So it's in the bubble and also working with the data from the customer itself.
Right.
So it's always the combination. It's not just an AI tool, because then they can go, the customers can go wherever they want, because there are a lot of supplies right now just for the AI thing.
Yeah, I mean, we could do a whole session on the direction of travel of models, and large language to small language and proprietary, etc. But it's definitely concerning where you see, this huge consolidation across, as you say, the tooling set model through to the infra layer, where there's huge fragmentation, which is one problem. So it's very difficult to understand, certainly how to put all the bits together. Way too much work for a customer. But then, the level of investment is driving the innovation, which is driving the turn cycles, which is driving the efficiency, and betting. Some of this tooling, especially if you're talking infrastructure, is incredibly expensive, right? True. If you make a bet, before you've breathed and written the check, there's a new model out the door, right? So it makes it frustrating for the customer. It makes it, also very difficult economically to predict where your AI architecture, once implemented, is going to go and how much it's going to cost you. So we work to try and alleviate that, at least about thinking about the architecture from an infrastructure perspective. But I love that, because, I've been in the same seat where I've been saying, would you please stop obsessing about the next, semiconductor technology, right? Forget it. Like it's ridiculous. The whole world is almost, the value chain has been turned upside down, where the technology has led the AI agenda. And it's the most dangerous place to be, really, because it's changing all the time.
Yeah, it is. So if you follow that, it's looking like a dog follow his own tail. I think that's not working here. So I think you need to start at the basics and then build it up and combine everything together so that you have the best of all the world's AI tooling. And I think that will definitely help.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, a lot of that, I mean, people will be listening to this thinking, my God, that, you know, that like, I'm sitting, it's huge. It's like,
is.
What kind of skills will I need? What does my procurement cycle need to look like? I've got like, you know, need so much optionality on the technology stack. But a lot of this is open source technology, and a lot can be done with open source technology. As you say, if you get the foundations right, you can stack that architecture to be very economical, and it's at most points zero cost. Okay. If you're piloting, when you get to production, it's something different. But by then you would have teased out.
And upfront we guide customers also on their journey with this AI thing, because it's coming in their whole organization. It's everywhere. Where we come, it's everywhere.
So you're actually also really looking at the impact on the business models potentially. It's a transformation exercise you find yourself in, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and that's what I really like about this as well, because I did this for a very big global consultancy firm, and there is that's where the starting was, the learning was, and I saw so many things by doing this, but also the lack of some components there. So I added it right now to make it a partner model, because I don't do this all by myself. I do this with my partners, and bringing the best of what we can have right now. But also looking at the near future about what's going to change. How can we make this a sustainable model for our customers? Because this is only just the beginning.
So this is your ecosystem play.
Yeah, this is the ecosystem. Yeah.
So what the technology is one aspect, but what else do you include in your ecosystem?
The security layer, like I said, the tokenized proposition with whole the chain, the sovereign infrastructure, the governance. I think everything is in place right now, but also the building stuff, the parties building the knowledge graphs, but also building the systems to visualize. And sometimes it's even necessary to bring in some gamification or AR or VR, whatever is necessary to bring the best outcome. And I think that's not up to me, that's up to the customer. Whatever is necessary to create this. So it's kind of a journey, and it starts with a small seed, and it comes up to a very big tree.
I mean, what we find, maybe this is analogous, is we'll go in with an example of a use case by industry. Okay, pick insurance. So we'll have a use case that we have to talk to demonstrate a value proposition and an architectural stack that works. We call it agent to infra layer because of what we do. But often that use case is just it's just the wedge in the door for the discussion. By the time we've left the meeting, there's maybe a big iteration on that idea or a whole new set of, let's call it use cases or ideas. And this is the thing with AI. It's you're not selling a product. You're selling an outcome. Okay. And I think that's more and more of the wise in the industry are talking about the outcome. Okay, the outcome is what everyone needs. How you price that, how you prepare for that, how you plan for that is the challenge, right? How you contract for that is another challenge. We've got another topic dedicated to that. But it's that outcome-based aspect, which is the major difference from a production like world. Okay,
True.
deploying AI is this is not about a product doing feature, function, benefit. It's an outcome.
Yeah, it's an outcome.
Yeah.
It's value based, and it starts only small, and it's getting bigger and bigger with a lot of iterations in this process.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it, because when we get started and the customer gets enthusiastic, then it comes more of the needs bringing in. And that's what we're building. So that's even for us sometimes a surprise. But we love this process. And also the binding with this customer or the dedicated team from the customer. It's really, really nice to see.
So that is a perfect lead into, we're quite new to the city we live in, maybe, a couple of months difference between us. We see the potential of the GCC region and potentially the launch pad that is the UAE. A country that no matter what difficulties or perceived difficulties it may be going through or may come, is a country of reinvention and ambition. And AI is no exception.
No.
I mean, that's why we're here, right? What happened since we've both landed here, is some incredibly bold statements, specifically from the government of the UAE, stating categorically that they will look within a 2-year period to basically be enabling and adopting agentic AI as far as possible. So the wires are super hot with what does that mean? What does it involve? How will they do it? And again, it's in a privileged position, one would argue, in that it's a small country, so it can effect change very quickly, but it also has a mindset of embracing ambition and technology in everything. So, you could be small and a small country, but fraught with, I don't know, hyper-regulation or lack of capability or ambition, right? So that's not what we have here. So your thoughts on that, and your thoughts on what can we as builders, founders, entrepreneurs, dreamers, do to help with that? Any thoughts on your side?
I definitely invite a dedicated team, and let me start first with I love the ambition. I've never ever in global life heard anyone say this out loud. And I think that's really daring. I think that's really daring. And the reason why I say it's daring, because they specifically said not to start it. No, they want to be ready for it for at least 50% within 2 years. So that's a great ambition, and that's a huge thing. Because if we look at the agentic AI itself, it's without the human in the loop. So that means that all the systems they are willing to use here is without human in the loop. Just the system itself, learning itself, making decisions itself. So if we go back to our early discussions here, I think this is the thing here. This is the really trust thing here. Because if you have a system that makes the decision itself, you need to be sure that the foundation underneath is really trustworthy. Otherwise, you cannot bring it back. You cannot trace where the decision have been taken and on what basis it has. You don't know if the data you use, if it's complete, if it's clean. So we are not talking about risk here. We are talking about liabilities here. So it needs to start real fast right now. And you need the specific experience for this. So it's not something you do and you start with and you see what the outcome will bring. No, it has to be prepared right now. And we have to start right now, because this is a very very large program.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would advocate that part of our job today is evangelizing for the talent that is here already in the UAE, the talent that may come, that is here because they believe, like you, that ambition drives reality. You can't dream it; it won't happen. You've got to dream it into reality. Is what I'm trying to say. And I do think, just from the resources and the daily interactions with people on the ground, there is a ton of talent here. Okay, there is a ton of talent here. All united, really, not maybe physically, but united in a belief that they've come here to build something amazing. So, upwards is what I say. So, Madelein, let's just then, we've fortunately gone so quickly in our conversation. So I just want to kind of close off on, you said something there just about this particular scenario with government in the UAE and the adoption of AI, agentic AI in its truest form, would not necessitate a human in the loop, which got me thinking. You made it very clear before you came on the podcast that you want AI to be the resource of the human, not the other way around.
Let me nuance that, because yes, I think human in the loop, after all, is really important. Because it's AI itself, it cannot. It can think of itself, but it's not interpreting it like a human. So I think specifically, if we look at the decision making, you need to be real sure what you do there, and that's the struggle I have. But the agentic AI, I think, within 2 years or 3 years maybe, it can do whatever is necessary. And from that point of view, I'm not sure if the human in the loop is still necessary. But I cannot see the future itself. I can only dream about it. And that's exactly the reason why I'm in here and came to Dubai, because I see the challenges, I see the dreams, but I can also see the new world coming, and the magic is happening here. I definitely see it like that.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the fear of a technology, I mean, it's an infinite debate, but the fear of technology is very normal. This is is a totally different set of circumstances with AI, and we are seeing the reality of the rationalization of processes, and processes often linked to people. So, it's not like you can fob the idea off that the workforce is not being affected by the early adoption. But I think anyone with a vision, whether that be the individual or, the company or the country, knows that there is a mid to a long-term play here, right? And that the reinvention potential through AI is what you've got to hold really in focus. And that means responsibility for being able to adapt and enabling your people, your talent to do that, right? Because getting to know something often mitigates the fear, right? There's so much to be done if you know how to evolve, adapt or die, as they say. So any final messages you want to leave us with, notwithstanding of, please let us know where people can find you and can reach out to you. How do they get hold of you? So let's make sure we get that
they
in.
can find me on LinkedIn and of course on our website at samture.com. Let's connect whatever the necessity is. I really love to connect and drink coffee and that's for sure. And maybe one last thing, because we that's a topic we did not really place here on the table. It's also, especially right now, about sovereignty. And if we look at the data here, specifically here in this region, I see a lot of big companies still working with US cloud infrastructure, with US regulations everywhere. So I think that's also a thing that we need to address with each other and talk about and discuss here, because we need to do things different.
Yeah.
And also for me, because I'm from Europe and I've worked a lot with the very big hyperscalers, and I know what they can bring on the table, so there's no discussion on it.
Yeah.
But I think specifically right now in this time of tension, for example, then you need to think about sovereignty as well, especially on the infrastructure.
True. And I mean, the trusted AI piece is linked to that topic.
Yeah.
I mean, never a time have we, where the technological debate is just tightly coupled to the geopolitical risk.
Yeah.
It is a reality.
Yeah.
But the good news is that we're already thinking about solutions. Right?
Yeah. And we're not only thinking about it, we also align with parties from that. So
it's both our missions to make sure that we have, the benefits of decentralization and technology for good front and center, and that independence is healthy no matter what, right? Talent is everywhere. Innovation is a driver out of good talent. You foster the talent, you have the innovation. So we have that in spades where we are. So no, very good point. Very good point. So Madelein, wonderful. I really appreciate you coming in today.
Thank you. I'm really honored.
And,
and hope to see you guys very soon again.
Amazing. So that's it from us today. Look out for our next episode, From the Edge, a podcast dedicated to great minds and fresh thinkers across the innovation table. Thank you.